Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a sloppy sports and entertainment talk show about the New York Giants, the New York Mets, movies, TV, comedy, and a whole lot more. It's hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the Real Cinch Neal Lynch. I'm a plump and furry Irish-Italian-American who graduated from a Catholic high school but isn't Catholic and went to a college known for producing doctors and lacrosse players and then became neither. Instead, I'm everything and anything that you want me to be. I'm your pusher, baby. I'm a blogger, vlogger, podcaster, writer, editor, video optimizer, content strategist, and failed stand-up comedian, Avi. You can leave me a voicemail or text me at 862-BIT-1986. That's 862-BIT-1986. Or you can subscribe to me on YouTube. It's Neal Lynch on YouTube or Real Cinch. You can go to my website, neallynch.com. Go to Facebook, facebook.com/giantmess. And I'm also Real Cinch on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to Giant Mess on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, possibly Google, maybe. There's a whole bunch of services out there. Spreaker. Ever hear of that one? Stitcher. I mean, go there. I dare you. And find me. And then smash the sub button. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about apple picking and pumpkin picking. It's that annual holiday. Not holiday. It's a celebration, I guess, of sorts, where you and your loved ones go and pick fresh produce from a farm. I'll talk about the painful migraine I had this past week that delayed the recording of this episode. We'll briefly touch on The Boys, Season 2, Episode 7. I recently got into the Umbrella Academy, so we might discuss that for a little bit. I also watched Vampires vs. the Bronx and the half of it on Netflix. Reviews to come on those shortly. We'll also break down the Week 4 game the Giants had versus the Los Angeles Rams and preview the Week 5 game against the Cowboys. So with that, let's get started. This past weekend, on this past Saturday, the wife, me, and our daughter went to a farm about a half-hour drive away, do some apple picking and pumpkin picking. Am I a fan of apple picking and pumpkin picking? Yeah, it's not bad. I think it gets a bad rap, and I think that's because, well, if you're a big college football fanatic who has a team that plays on Saturdays, you probably would have been, this is a hard pass, but I have no allegiances anymore, really. I went to a college that was D3 in football. We did well, but it wasn't televised in prime time on ABC or Fox or anything like that. So, I grew up watching like the Michigan Wolverines, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I love the rivalries between Florida State and Florida. So for me, Saturdays when I was single used to be for the boys. It used to be kick back, relax, and watch college football on every available screen to me. But that is no more. So I think we might have gotten around to the apple picking and pumpkin picking a little too late in the game. I'll get to that in a little bit. But we waited in line or first of all, the drive there. I don't even know what town this is in. It's near Harding Township, New Jersey. In that area, it's like southwest of where we are in I guess it's Essex County now. And not a lot of shoulder room on the side of the roads. Very narrow roads, two-way roads, and they're just bicyclists and joggers everywhere, all over the place. In like literally the 2 inches of curb shoulder space they give you on these roads. And these roads are not like, hey, local 25 mile per hour, we got a radar on you. These are like 45 miles per hour and up roads. So, people are cranking through these turns and corners at 50, 55 miles per hour. And these bicyclists don't give a fuck. So I can only imagine how many people got wiped out on this road. Because it would, I mean, luckily I have the instincts and reflexes of a cat. Otherwise, we'd be looking at some pretty expensive medical bills, lawsuits, what have you. But we get there, and Parking lot is just about full, teeming with cars and people wearing masks. I somehow I see everyone turning around and coming back to me. I'm like, oh, great. I have to do like not a K turn, but like a spiral graph turn, just like a 15-point turn to get back out of this parking lot. Turns out there was just enough room and space on the end of one row that I was able to squeeze in. It's just like, you can't get out on the right side, but that's fine. Make it work, make it happen. So we end up going up and walking. There's a huge line. And we waited in line for about an hour and a half. There was a father and a daughter, I think, in front of me, or if not a father-daughter relationship, then probably something very illegal. and at one point the guy's like, I forgot this in the car. And I was like, oh, I'll watch your spot for you. I'll save your spot. No big deal. You do it for me, right? And so he goes, oh, thanks. He goes away. That guy never returned. I don't know what happened to that gentleman and his daughter / illegal lover, but they never came back. And it's October. It's Halloween season. It's horror movie season. What happened to that dude and that girl? The mind is a powerful thing, and mind tends to wander and venture into those weird death-like scenarios in horror sequences. So saved them a spot. They never came back. And then there was a large family behind us, and they were just not having the line at all. They bailed. So it eventually dwindled down, but still not moving along as fast as it could. And you see like this tractor pull up with a trailer, like a haunted hayride type trailer attached to it. And there's only like 3 people in it. And you're like, wait a minute. Is this how this is going? We're hauling 3 people at a time in this humongous tractor trailer hitch thing, like only 3 at a time. No wonder this line is fucking from here to infinity and beyond. Let's get it moving. I mean, we're all wearing masks. We're outside. Let's just roll the dice a little bit more on this and not limit capacity on a friggin' tractor trailer. So little did I know it wasn't like they don't like wait for that long. It's like if you're there at the end spot, they'll pick you up and then they're out of there to keep things moving. But I'm like the anxiety, no matter how many pills I'm on or no matter what's going on in my brain or what pills I'm on to make my brain not do what my brain is known for doing. It just jumps to bad scenarios, just negative thinking all around. Big major character flaw, but the tractor has to come down this kind of slope area and has to swing around so that it can 180 and go back and pick people up and go back down the dirt trail to the patches or whatever. So the line crosses over that slope. So this teenager who's like upset and annoyed that he has to speak up and use his voice and actually use his authority to get something done is just like, can you guys just please just move? Please just move. Like just telling us to move the line behind the white bucket so that this trailer can swing around and go back up the path in the right direction. And so I'm like, I have no problem with this. I can move. And I see some other people. Anytime you have a large group of people that are not on the same team or in the same family, the coordination on that kind of line movement gets dicey. It's never well choreographed. It's never, goes smoothly. It's always like you have a bunch of cheaters, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to use this. They try to capitalize on the moment of weakness and vulnerability. And they see you move back and they think, I can jump up a couple spots. And they're like, who's one to say? Maybe they won't pay attention and notice that I'm in front of them. I notice. I'm the type of person that notices. So, I had my head on a swivel, eyes wide open, making sure that no one was cutting me in line because my wife was off with the baby, looking at all the chickens and the roosters in the pen, in the cage. So when we swing back to let the tractor go by, I'm keeping my eyes on everyone. Just like, you're a suspect, you're a suspect, you're a suspect. I know exactly where I am. This guy's in front of me. This dude's behind me. Let's keep it that way. So move out, move back. And you have to like slowly, but also not like it's weird. You don't want to quickly run back to your spot. You don't want to, because then you look like a tight ass, you know. So you want to make sure that you're like at a nice, reasonable pace, keeping your position, your pole position, if you will. So in front of me, there was a Indian family who just was not about that life, was not about this waiting in line life, which I don't mind waiting in line. You know, I did it plenty of years waiting outside the Osprey bar in Manasquan. So I'm keen to it. I'm attuned to it. It's a great place for conversations. Of course, no one was in a conversational mood with their mask on, but so the Indian family was like, then they tapped out and they went into honestly, why go apple picking when there's a store right there? Just go to the store, pick up the apples you like and bounce. That's nice. So like, are you getting that much satisfaction and enjoyment from actually reaching onto, clamping your hand onto an apple and doing the vaunted twist roll move to snap it off the branch? Like, is that giving you the kind of serotonin dopamine release that you need to get through life? Whereas you can just walk into that store, the same apples are there, pick them up, boom, go. So they bounced. I guess they had their pumpkins, or they were fine with not picking apples off a tree. But I did notice that the older Indian gentleman, perhaps the grandfather of the clan, the group, had an extra finger on each of his hands. He had 6 fingers on each hand, which I thought was pretty cool. Although he didn't have an extra thumb. He had an extra pinky on each hand, but the extra pinky was not the same size as the standard pinky, I guess you could say. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. It was kind of just like, I don't know that there was a lot of bone structure in this extra pinky, this extra phalange, kind of floppy, but it still looks friggin' hella badass. It looks cool. It's like if you go up against the dude with 6 fingers on each hand, it's like you have to take a moment to yourself and be like, do I really want to get mixed up in this? I don't know what kind of powers that extra finger holds. So that was pretty cool. And then the family in front of us, it was a husband and wife. Husband's in like Timberland construction boots. He's got a Devil's sweatshirt. I think he's got like maybe a Devil's hat or something like that. So obviously into hockey, obviously feels comfortable enough in his masculinity to rock the Tims. And then you have the wife who is like, Real Housewife of New Jersey-ish, but like very fit, but like bleach blonde hair, teased, Uggs, skin tight jeans. And then they have 2 daughters. And the 2 daughters look like they could be twins. Maybe one's older than the other, but super into getting the correct photo. And when I was waiting in line, I was watching as these 2 other women just decided like, hey, we're going to go up and try and figure out what this long line is for. It's like, oh, it's just for our health. Scientists have found that when you stand in a single formation line for extended periods of time, extend your life for years and years to come. It's, beneficial. It's like superfood. So these 2 ladies who are dressed to the nines. Like, whoa. And I can tell right away. I was like, you guys get all done up, makeup, hair, these funky hats, these unbelievable looking clothes, so that you could get the perfect Instagram picture. This is not about the experience. This is not about apples or pumpkins for you guys. It's about that picture. It's about that one picture you put on fucking Instagram to get all the likes. And you could tell that they just took a look at the line and they were running through their head like, how am I going to get to the front of this line? And I think if they were at the nightclub, not a problem. Let's go up to the male bouncer and work your charms. Doesn't transition over to the line at the orchard or the farm. So I don't even know if they stuck around and in line, but it's like, oh, ladies, you're not going to get your picture. And the 2 daughters in the family in front of me, I think they were kind of in that same boat where it's like, we are here for that Instagram pic, for that clout on the gram, because they were just not happy with their mother and her picture taking abilities. They're like, I can't believe the angle you just used. You have to go top to bottom, top down. You can't be doing it from that angle. You can't be doing it straight on or from the bottom. And the mother's like, I don't know. And she's like, it's just like, oh. But the one daughter was there with her girlfriend, which was cool. Who I was trying to figure out the dynamic, because it's like you had the two daughters that kind of look similar, behave the same way. And then you had another girl, young woman there. And she was just like, hooded sweatshirt, mesh shorts, like sneakers, kick around sneakers, and like a hat and a shaved head. And it was just like, how do you play into this? And then it turns out like you turn right, turn left, and they're making out, and you're like, okay. And very progressive. And I bring it up because you just wouldn't, it's not expected. Especially with that dad. The dad just like reeked of blue collar, like grease on the hands, 9 to 5, paper mill or whatever, oil factory. Like it just very blue collarish. And then, it was just nice to see, I guess, is the point I was trying to make. I don't know if that came across, but it's just cool. Very cool. But it was like, that line is such a frenetic experience. People coming, people going, people leaving, people returning. The people, we forgot something in the car when we were like 3 people away from the front of the line. Someone was like, hey, why don't you take a picture in front of the pumpkin over there? It's like, do we have to go over there to take this picture? Because I think if we go over there, someone's going to go around us. That's just where my head was at. Constantly thinking about how we're going to lose our position in line. I could not get over it. So, yeah. And then ultimately we spent so much time in the line. We get in the tractor trailer, and of course the family picture we ended up taking, I forgot to take my mask off. I don't know. I'm so comfortable in that goddamn mask. I don't even think about it anymore. It's like a second skin, if I could wear a mask all the time and people wouldn't get like weirded out by it, I probably would. I just love masks. That there's probably a deeper subconscious like level of meaning to that we don't need to get into now. I think I get into it enough with my therapist every week. Got into a shouting match with her this week. No big deal. I'm defensive. You're defensive. But we did end up getting, about 6 apples. All the trees were pretty much picked through except one row of trees of green apples. And I was like, why is no one picking that row? And then, movie mind brain kicks in, and I'm like, it's probably evil. They probably like, you go to pick it and some like creature or being entity like comes out of the ground in a cloud of smoke. And it's like, you pick that, you pay the price. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to pay the price when I get down to the register. Like, not that price. You know what I mean? A bigger price, and not in money, your life. I'm like, oh, okay. Got it. So, but we got like 6 apples, which I guess is a haul. I remember last time we went apple picking, it was like, we filled the entire bucket of like 30, 40 apples, and we were eating apples 2 or 3 times a day for the whole month of October. So 6 apples is probably just right around the right amount. And we ended up getting like a very small pumpkin for our daughter, and then kind of a next level up pumpkin, not a big pumpkin by any means, because we just didn't have the arms or the strength of the numbers to carry like a bigger pumpkin, in addition to an apple basket of apples and all that. So, and then the bigger pumpkin like has some kind of weird fungus on it now that we just discovered. Like, we washed it off thinking it's dirt, and then it's like the next day it's like half of it's covered in this weird fungus or moss or algae or something. Like, okay, is this pumpkin cursed? Does it have corona? Like, what are we in store for here? But with the apples, we managed to, I wanted to do like an apple crisp thing. I was like, the whole time as we're apple picking, I'm thinking like, what can we do with these apples? Apple pie is like, yeah, it's American. It's like traditional, but I want to go do something a little bit more with these apples, do something different. And we ended up trying to do a crisp in a slow cooker and didn't have like half the ingredients. But I was like looking up all these different substitutes. Like, oh, I can substitute lemon juice. I can substitute white wine for lemon juice. I can substitute coconut oil for butter. And, I mean, it came out all right, but it's almost like eating like the inside of a fig Newton is basically how I would describe it. But plenty of that left over if anyone wants a scoop. So, and then, I wanted to record yesterday, but came down with a migraine. I think it's a migraine because it's not as painful as I hear most migraines are, but it happens to me probably once a year, once every other year, where it's just like I'm spending way too much time staring at screens. And so what ends up happening is, I was fine. And then I go to feed the cats. I open up the can of cat food, bend over to dump it out, stand back up. And all of a sudden, like half a huge chunk of my vision is just completely blurred out. Like I don't even know how to, if you've had this feeling, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I don't know how to paint the picture for you because it's almost like you know how you can sometimes see like a spot or like a flashing spot. That's like, if you look at the sun and then look away, or look at a light directly into a light and then look away. And there's like the remnants of the light. It was like that, except a huge portion of my field of vision. Whereas like you can just like look at a screen, no matter how long you look at it, you cannot read what's on the screen or see what's going on. And I need that to pull this shit off, unfortunately, because my brain's not equipped or wired to do improv off the cuff as much as I'd like. So I ended up having to like turn off all the lights, and I put on the TV because I was like, I didn't want to sit in total darkness. So I was like, I'll put on my sunglasses, sitting in the living room, total darkness with the TV on, and I'll just listen to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman talk about the Bucks and the Bears on Thursday Night Football. So, and my wife came in and was like, whoa, what? Hey, Ray Charles, everything okay? Stevie Wonder? Like, yes, I cannot see. I have a migraine. But it wasn't like painful. So I can only imagine what people like, LaDainian Tomlinson and I guess maybe Ricky Williams, but not Ricky Williams. He was just had not weird, but social anxiety. LaDainian Tomlinson, though, had migraines. I think Terrell Davis had migraines too, where it's like, yeah, you have to turn off all lights and you just have to be in a nice, quiet, dark place. It's actually not that bad. In terms of TV, what I've been watching lately, of course, The Boys episode 7 of season 2 came out on Friday night. And I will just say this, if you haven't seen it yet, it is explosive. Wink. Each and every week has a jaw-dropping moment. I think there was a nice moment of levity amidst the insanity that was happening with Lamplighter and Starlight and Huey. So once the season's over, I think we can really delve into everything there. But Jesus. I don't know if next week's the finale or not, but the way this one ended, the climax, the courtroom scene, would love to know what's going on. I mean, that was a really nice cliffhanger because you feel like you're going towards a resolution with this, the one storyline with Homelander, and like the jig is up, if you will. And nope, we're now back to like, oh boy, where do we go from here? So, very keen on that. think I think her name is Aya Cash, a Stormfront, has done a really amazing job. I was kind of like really put off at her at first, and I guess mission accomplished because that was the goal, right? It's like she's doing these things that are getting attention on social media, but is she ultimately likable? And the answer is no, for sure not. But they still appeal to your humanity throughout, which I think is the mark of a good program. We've said it before with like the Watchmen and stuff. Like there's good and evil, and then there's a little bit of good on the evil people and a little bit of evil on the good people. So, and just because I'm in that kind of mood, the boys' mood, I decided to tune into the Umbrella Academy. I've watched the first 2 or 3 episodes now, and I like it a lot. I like the casting. I like the writing for the most part. Although the last episode, there were some slow parts where it's like, I don't know about all this. I think that they started to get, and I think they said that about season 2. It's a little bit lighter in tone and not as dark, but so far so good. Ellen Page is in that from Juno, and she was Kitty Pryde in the X-Men movies. And I don't really know most of the other cast members, but there's a talking monkey, which is pretty freaking cool, and a robot mom. And I mean, yeah, it's kind of like if you're into the boys, you probably should be into the Umbrella Academy as well. Highly recommend. We also watched Vampires versus the Bronx, a Netflix original with that was, I mean, essentially is just like a allegory or metaphor, analogy for gentrification. It's just like, it's not as subtle as it would have, I guess it would have liked to be, or maybe it's not trying to be subtle. It was just like white people are vampires and they're sucking the life out of our communities. It was basically the takeaway from that. I was like, even though I know that's the message, I still want to watch this movie because I think I dig it. And then we also watched the half of it, which is, I want to say it almost feels like not a knockoff or a ripoff of, but kind of a derivation of To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Kind of similar-ish in premise and concept, but still full of great stuff. Good characters, great emotions, kind of a twist on the boy meets girl. I want to say like modern day retelling adaptation of Cyrano de Bergerac. Oh boy, didn't think I was going to pull that out of my ass, did you? So those reviews maybe coming down the line on those, but we have more important things to get to, like the New York Football Giants. We'll talk about them quickly. I'm going to recap the Week 4 game versus the Rams, preview the Week 5 game against the Cowboys. Quick rundown of the bigger moments from the Rams game. I went into this and, if you've watched or listened to last week's episode, I was very down on the Giants considering the effort they put forth against the just crippled 49ers. I mean, like they backups all across the board and we got blown out of the water eventually. But I thought, my God, the Rams with all their key pieces intact should be able to tear us apart. And I was wrong. The line was something like 11.5, 12, and, we only lost by 8. Chance to tie it in the last minute of the game. Can't ask for more than that. I mean, you can, because I'm greedy, but the fact that we were able to trade punches and stick with it and stick towards, I think this was probably more in line with the Bears game, in that we got off to a very rough start, but then came along in the second half. That first opening drive by the Rams, Gerald Everett's 2-yard rushing touchdown, was the third opening drive touchdown by the Rams this season, tied for the most in the NFL. And it was basically just featured all running backs and tight ends. Henderson and Brown, the running backs, and then Higbee and Everett, the tight ends, which would explain why Devontae Downs started and then was replaced by Tay Crowder, because you cannot allow that to happen. So it looks like Devontae Downs probably not going to be a starter much longer. Tate Crowder kind of held his own. We get a huge turnover on the next defensive series that got us the ball at the Rams 34, but only came in with a field goal. It's instances like that, and I think this has been a problem for the Giants for a long time, where you get a turnover in enemy territory, and getting 3 points that's a loss in my book. Yeah, it's good to get the points on the board, but you have got to turn that into more. And we just have not been able to do that for a long time, but especially this year. If false starts were a killer, we had a bunch of false starts. I mean, there was one where it was like already 3rd and 22, so who cares? But there were, I think, 2 or 3 inside LA territory that really killed the momentum of very promising drives that looked like they would score. Jason Garrett continues to exclusively run the ball on first down, which is a killer because it's expected, and why not mix in a little play action on first down? I don't know. Maybe mix in a play action and throw to the running back short. Something that is going to get us more than a yard in a cloud of dust. Seeing some drop passes still from a bunch of receivers who probably shouldn't be dropping passes. We're also seeing a lot of passes for negative yards. So I don't know, this trend of like, let's throw the ball at or behind the line of scrimmage when they're not. Why? It's not getting us anywhere. And I don't know if that's on the execution or the play calling, the scheme or whatever, but can't keep doing that. So the first quarter was a mess. And I was like, other than that big turnover that our defense got, our offense just looked completely inept. More punts than yards, that kind of thing. Second quarter, LA came out with a 15-play drive that ended in a field goal, so I consider that a win for our defense. But then we responded with a 13-play drive that ended in a field goal. And I think, and this was towards the end of the second quarter, the end of the first half, so I think that was a kind of drive where if we had more time, it felt like we were on pace to score a touchdown. But because time had been running out, we had to kick the field goal on second down or third down or something like that. But that was when we were really gaining our momentum and were able to get back into the swing of things. The run game had picked up. We started to use Golden Tate more effectively. And so we go into half 10-6. Not bad. Not bad at all. Third quarter starts. We almost get that amazing interception from Tate Crowder that's overturned. Who knows where the game turns out if we end up picking that up and he's able to hold on. What's it going to take for Jason Garrett to realize that crossing routes are our friend and that going left to right is our friend? It gives our guys a chance to move the ball after the catch instead of like, let's just have 4 wideouts, 4 targets, run straight down the field, stop and turn around. I don't know what that does for anyone. There was one play, I think it was in the first half, where Jones drops back to pass. I think it might have been a tight end screen, but no receivers went out into the pattern. So it was like, was it supposed to be a run? Was it an RPO? What the hell? Let's get on the same page. So, and again, I think this points to just, I don't know, maybe not having a full training camp, not having a full preseason. These are the kind of things that I think might have been worked out earlier on had things been normal. 3rd and 6 from the LA 43. That's an opportunity for us to really swing things more into our favor, and we weren't able to convert it. But yet we're like pretty good on 4th down conversions. I think we have a higher 4th down conversion rate than we do 3rd down. There's another 3rd and 4 at the LA 9. Gotta have that. Absolutely gotta have that. There was a 3rd and 3 at the LA 47. Gotta have that. I think that anything 3rd and 7 or less inside opponent territory, you got to draw up your best play and convert, because that's just you've seen it happen to us where we're, that's, the opposing offense is on a long drive, double-digit plays, and 3rd and something inside our territory need to stop, and we don't, and then that's usually when the walls cave in and the other team scores. The next drive, we started off with all Devontae Freeman, and we moved the ball. So it's like, We actually know how to use Devontae Freeman. And then 4th and 11 from the LA 31. We went for it instead of kicking a field goal. And I think, it only would have made the game 17-12. Or was this before or after? Yeah, this was after. So before the Devontae Freeman drive, LA starts at their own 9, which, you got to figure, all right, we've got them pinned. This is where defense needs to really clamp down and stop them. And then we'll get the ball in great position to, make it easier for us to score. And instead, 3rd and 3, we bring the blitz and no one picks up Cooper Kupp and he goes 55 yards for a touchdown. Just one play. It legitimately is just one play. 1 to 2 plays a game that have cost us, and that was the big one. I don't know who was supposed to be in coverage. I think it might have been Adrian Colbert, but I think he ended up getting hurt too. But Cooper Kupp was held in check for most of this game, other than that one play. You take away this one big gain for a touchdown, and he didn't really hurt us that much. But that's all it takes, especially in a tight one, low-scoring affair. So Rams are up 17-9. 4th and 11 from the LA 31. We went for it instead of kicking the field goal. You kick the field goal there. Yeah, you're only down by 5. It's 17-12. But you reduce the amount of pressure on your team to score the touchdown and get the 2-point conversion. Now you can feel good knowing you just need the touchdown. And the extra point should be a gimme, but even if you don't get the extra point, you're still up by 1. So I would not have gone for it on 4th and 11. Knowing our success rate on 3rd and long and knowing that we don't convert on 4th and long, let's get the field goal. And let's have our defense have another crack at it, because the defense had a fair amount of success against a very high-powered LA Rams offense. Then we had the last drive, of course. Huge pass to Slayton with LA tried to run out the time. We get it back because we saved our timeouts, which is another key facet, benefit pro of having Joe Judge, is that he actually saves his timeouts. He doesn't waste his timeouts like Shermer. So we get the ball back with a decent amount of time. Jones hits Slayton on a beautiful pass, crossing route. Goes for 33. Jones scrambles for big yards. He's avoiding sacks. I mean, just a magician evading the rush. 2nd and 5 at the LA 18 with less than a minute to play. Jones escapes the rush and he makes a throw to the right near sideline to Damian Ratley towards the sideline. And the cornerback for the Rams dives and intercepts the ball. Could he have made a better throw? Absolutely. Should have been more to the outside shoulder. Should have been in a place where only Ratley can catch it. You take a still photograph, a screenshot, an image of the moment before he releases the ball, and there's a bunch of real estate in front of him, and he has Deion Lewis back to the left. In real time, did he see that? No. In another year's time, will he see that? Maybe. I'm confident he will. It's experiences like this that he can learn from and get better from. So I'm not going to knock Jones for that throw. I think it's not a bad decision. Was it the best decision? No, but it wasn't a bad decision. It was just a throw that could have been better. And let's be honest, that was an amazing play by the D-back. I don't know that many cornerbacks make that play and make the interception. So you got to give credit to the Rams defense. But to me, to watch that play and say Daniel Jones isn't the guy. Okay. I mean, the fact that we were even in that position was largely due to Daniel Jones. So I don't know that he was getting like a ton of help from his playmakers. The Rams are now 11-4 after a loss in the Sean McVay era since 2017. So odds are they were going to win anyway, just because they know how to bounce back. You know, we outgained them in total yards. We had our best rushing day of the season. We had the more than 75 or more rushing yards in the game for the first time this season. We averaged more yards per play than the Rams. We just can't put points on the board. Giants have scored fewer than 10 points in 2 consecutive games for the first time since weeks 3 and 4 of 2013. We all know what happened there. We started like 0-7, 0-6, something like that. Fun fact, the Yankees have scored more runs in their 3 postseason baseball games than the Giants have scored in their first 3 NFL games. Yikes, I don't think that's improved after the Rams game. We have now not scored a touchdown since the fourth quarter of week 2 against the Bears. So we've now gone 2 games without a touchdown. Whoa, dude. Whoa. So other than the 1 interception, Jones played about as good as you can from a turnover standpoint. He did have a fumble, but he recovered it. And, the interception was just trying to make a play happen. And I don't think that was, that bad. His 30 giveaways since 2019 are second most in the NFL. So still an issue, still a problem. Giants gave up 5 sacks. If I were to tell you that, and I'd say, who do you think from the Rams came up with those majority of those 5 sacks? You'd probably say Aaron Donald. And guess what? You'd be wrong. Aaron Donald only had half a sack. And he only had 2 assisted tackles. So you can like get angry at Nick Gates, the center, and Hernandez, the guard, and Zeitler, the other guard, interior line. And, say they're not doing their job. They stink. They've regressed. But they also kept Aaron Donald, an all-pro defensive tackle, in check. I mean, I was seriously concerned that he might hurt Daniel Jones at some point in this game. And the line kind of held its own. Now, you can make the argument that, yeah, okay, they were able to subdue or, take Aaron Donald out of the game, but that allowed for other defenders to make plays. Like, Morgan Fox with a sack and a tackle for loss. Looks like Samson Ebukam with half a sack, Justin Hollins with a sack, Michael Brockers with a sack. So, yeah, that's what Donald does. You try and double or triple team him. You're leaving a couple guys open, and so I think that's what happened with the pass rush. 5 sacks allowed. It's not good. Our third down efficiency, 30%, still not like where I think we'd like it to be. Need to be a little better there. The Rams were held to 38%, which, considering the Rams are like, when I was giving my preview of the Rams game last week, that was a concern, was like how good they are on third down. So 38%, all things considered, not too bad. Still needs to be down below that. We won the time of possession battle, but we had those costly penalties. The Rams only had 1 penalty. So even though I could have called like probably half a dozen penalties, it seems like the refs are letting holdings go this year on both sides. Like, just let it go. I was watching the Bucs Bears game last night, and it was like on one drive there were like 6 flags, 7 flags. It's like, this is unwatchable. Jones is 23, 36, 190 in the pick. And if you're thinking, oh man, he's done for, you're stick a fork in him, like he's over. The Rams have held 3 of 4 opposing quarterbacks to 1 or fewer passing touchdowns this season. That Rams secondary, that Rams defense in the secondary is elite. And so, yeah. Jones has gone up. We'll get to this in a little bit, but the defenses he's gone up against are no laughing matter. Like, the best of the best. So, and he's still producing okay numbers. Wayne Gallman led the rushing attack, but it's mostly because of that one long 22-yard gain, I think. Jones, again, 6 carries, 45 yards. Love to see it. Devontae Freeman, 11 carries, 33 yards. He averaged 3. Okay. You know what? As long as it's above a 3 or above, I'm fine with it. It's better than nothing. Slayton, yet again, he's not catching a lot of his targets. 7 targets, only 3 catches, 48 yards. And I think 33 of them came on that one play. So it's like, is that kind of the norm for him moving forward? Is he just the one big play per game type of guy, or is he going to be more consistent and reliable? Devontae Freeman, 4 catches, 35 yards, which is, if we can get, I like that. If we can get 50 or more, 50 to 100 scrimmage yards, total yards from Freeman per game, we'll be in a good spot. Evan Engram, 6 catches, 35 yards on 10 targets. Damian Ratley seems to be coming around now. 4 targets, 3 catches, 34 yards. He had that nice, beautiful dig route that Joe Judge broke down on the Joe Judge report, where, if you're looking at it from Daniel Jones' perspective, he unbelievable placement of the ball, knowing that they were breaking it down. Ratley wasn't even in the freaking frame yet, in the screen yet, and Jones had released the ball and hit him right in stride. So, that plays like that give me all the confidence in the world, Daniel Jones. They do. Because he's making the tough throws in tight windows and being extremely accurate. Was he not? He wasn't accurate on the one tight window, the biggest play in the fourth quarter on the last drive. Sure. But most passes, most attempts, he's putting it where he needs to. Impressive throws. So no Trevor Lawrence, please. Golden Tate, 6 targets, 4 catches, 20 yards. Yeah, he was, I feel like he's going to be gone. I feel like they're going to trade him to anyone who will take him, basically, because I don't know that he's really giving us anything on offense. Caden Smith, 1 target, 1 catch, 10 yards. They need to get him more involved. Instead of 10 targets to Evan, can we give like 3 targets to Caden, 4 targets to Caden? And would like to see Dion Lewis get a little more involved in the passing game. CJ Board, is he the number 4? It seems like Ratley's the number 4 now, because CJ Board had 1 carry for 1 target, no catches. He had 1 carry for 3 yards or something like that. So it's hard to see what the coaches saw in him to make a move for him and get rid of Corey Coleman. I'm still hung up on that. I don't even know where Corey Coleman ended up. Possibly nowhere, but it's still interesting to see how these players that we acquired last minute, it's like, is this what you expected? Blake Martinez, yet another just incredible game, outstanding game, exceptional. 8 solos, 5 assists, 1 tackle for loss. He's just all over the place and doing such everything we've ever asked for and more. Anyone who's criticized the signing pretty much can take a seat and simmer down now and zip her up, because this guy is doing exactly what we needed. And we just need to find a nice complementary linebacker next to him to round out our crew. Logan Ryan, again, another amazing signing. 4 solo tackles, pass defended. Kyler Fackrell had a sack and 3 tackles for loss. He had a big day, although he did not end up getting hurt. I think Marcus Golden had to come in. Leonard Williams, 3 solos, 2 assists. Bradbury, another awesome game. 3 solos, 1 assist. And a fumble recovery on the Dawson Johnson hit. He was there, and Joe Judge, of course, broke down that play and was like, he loved how Bradbury got in the fetal position on the ball. Dexter Lawrence, 3 solos, 3 assists, 1 tackle for loss. Love to see him get some more playing time. And then Austin Johnson had a sack and a tackle for loss. So Austin Johnson somewhat redeeming himself from the bad Bears game. Gano was perfect from the field. Riley Dixon, another, superb game, punting the ball. 5 punts, 43.2 average, 2 inside the 20 with a long of 50. Corey Ballentine only had 1 return, but it was for 27 yards. So good to see that he's seeing the field more. And Golden Tate, possibly averaged 10 yards a return. So he's still an asset in the punt return game. Jared Goff didn't have a huge day, 25, 32, 200 yards and a touch. We held Malcolm Brown and Darrell and Henderson in check. Cooper Kupp, other than the 55-yarder, you take that away, he had 4 catches for 14 yards, less than 4 yards a catch. So it's just that one play that burned us. Robert Woods, 6 catches, 36 yards, 6 yards a catch. Josh Reynolds, a little more success getting down the field, but Higbee, 6 yards a catch. Brown, I think he had less than 4 yards a catch. And so I feel like the defense did as good as you can expect, with the exception of that one play, the one breakdown. So, yeah, I mean, and, punt returns, Cooper Kupp, 2 returns, 8-yard average. Not bad. We're seeing a lot more of Ryan Lewis. It looks like he's supplanted Isaac Yiadom. Tate Crowder took over for Devontae Downs, and Adrian Colbert looks like he was gone in place of Julian Love, who we all had high hopes for, and then, I don't know, is no longer in the mix, I guess. But then Colbert got hurt, so I think Love might be back in the swing of things. Dan Duggan said, just finished rewatching the first half of yesterday's game. If we had to rank the issues with the passing game, here we go. Number 1, scheme wide receiver talent. Nobody's open, no separation, shitty play calling, 4 hitches or 4 curls. Yeah. I mean, we got to get a little more creative. Garrett needs to I don't know. He just has to get more creative. But then you see, whenever we had like 2 or 3 illegal motions, right? Maybe. So I think there's still some concern there that this offense it's a lot to expect the offense, a bunch of new players in the system, new OC. So, trying to get them to play beyond what they've grasped. Maybe he's being slow with it, intentionally slow and easy with it, because he doesn't want to overwhelm them and wants to stick to basics and stick to what they're good at. But I think he just said that he doesn't really know he's still trying to figure out what they're good at. Oh, great. Number 2 is the protection. Andrew Thomas. This is an article from Ryan Dunleavy. Andrew Thomas curse is behind his concerning Giants start. Thomas has allowed 6 pressures, second most among NFL offensive linemen in week 4, and 2 sacks Sunday against the Rams. With 5 sacks allowed, he is graded number 66 among 72 tackles, while Wirfs is number 24, Becton is 26, and Wills is 46. But have they seen the same level of elite edge rushers? I mean, we've said this multiple times. He's seen a lot of multiples, a lot of stunts, a lot of elite edge rushers. So, I mean, once we get into maybe a softer part of the schedule where there aren't as many, the problem is we don't. I mean, like, all the fronts in the division are tough. Cowboys, Washington football team, and the Eagles all have pretty much top-notch front sevens and pass rushes. So I don't know that it gets any easier, but I think at least this has toughened him up a little bit. So the knock against Andrew Thomas, he doesn't play with his feet on the ground. This is from Brian Baldinger. Doesn't play with his feet on the ground, in the ground. He's always hopping, always on one foot, constantly off balance. Pre-planned. So yeah, I can see it. I mean, Bobby Skinner broke down a clip on Twitter that I thought was very helpful. It's like, yes, he was parallel with the sideline at one point on a rush, but he was able to recover and recuperate and get back in a good position to prevent the sack. So unlike Eric Flowers, who would have been tossed aside in my IMHO, in my honest opinion. And then 3, Jones. Jones is holding on to the ball too long and receivers are not getting enough separation. Joe Judge was asked, Joe Judge commented, if you're asking if Daniel's our quarterback, Daniel's our quarterback. And I see no reason why he wouldn't be our quarterback. He's not the problem. I mean, he is problematic, but he's not the problem. He's thrown 20 plus yards downfield on 5.4% of his pass attempts, which is tied for 35th among 35 qualifiers. Now, You can read that stat in one of two ways. One is he's just not looking downfield, which I don't believe, or he's not given the time to throw downfield, which I'm more inclined to believe. Or there are not enough play designs where there are actual routes going 20 yards down the field. And that's on Jason Garrett. So I think it's a combination of protection, lack of separation, and play calling. I forget who this is from, but they say Jones has looked his best on max protect play action shots with 2 or 3 man routes. So why don't the Giants do more of that on first down? If you're going to throw 2-3 tight ends on the field and make it look like a run on first down, play action, boot, play action, get one of those dudes, Caden Smith, maybe down the field. Combo route. If you have the 2 or 3 wide tight ends to one side, combo route that stuff and rubs and all the scrapes and all that good stuff. And Evan Engram is at his best when he's running from left to right or right to left, when he's running side to sideline. It's just don't run him at 2 yards off the ball. At least get him 5 yards down the field. I don't think that's a lot to ask. Daniel Jones has now played in 16 full games, so let's take a look at the numbers. His record is 3-13. I don't think you should judge a quarterback by their record, and unfortunately that's the case. But yeah, it's 3-13 his first 16 starts. He's completed around 62% of his passes, thrown for almost 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. I mean, if you put that over like the first full season in one season, you saw those numbers, you'd be like, I mean, I accept. I think those are great lines. He's obviously not the problem when you look at the numbers. He's been sacked 52 times, which is the most sacks given up by a team. I guess last year was the most sacks given up by a team was 55. So he's right up there at the top of the list. He has 416 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, which is something that I don't think a lot of people thought about when we got Jones. And 21 fumbles and he's lost 13. Huge issue. He's pressured on 58 dropbacks in the first 3 weeks of the season, the most of any quarterback in the NFL. He had 9 pressures, pressured 9 times on 17 dropbacks in the first half against the Rams. The Rams had 4 sacks on the Giants' first 4 possessions of Sunday's game. They pressured Jones on more than half of his dropbacks in the first half. So, number of contributing factors that we've all mentioned. I did take a look at next gen stats though, because I find stats very amusing and they get me and I get them. Average time to throw for Daniel Jones is 2.79 seconds, which is 26th highest. I think I wrote that wrong, but basically he's had time to throw. I think there are like 6 other quarterbacks that have had more time to throw than Daniel Jones. So that would indicate that the line is actually doing their job. And it's more of an indictment on Jones and the wide receivers. His intended air yards is 6.9. So it looks like he is throwing considerably down the field. I think there are quarterbacks that throw shorter. And he's 7th in aggressiveness. Aggressiveness tracks the amount of passing attempts a quarterback makes that are into tight coverage, where there is a defender within 1 yard or less of the receiver at the time of the completion or incompletion. Aggressiveness is shown as a percentage of attempts at tight windows over all passing attempts. So 7th in aggressiveness indicates that Jones is taking shots. He's throwing balls that most quarterbacks wouldn't. And so now you have to take a look at the receivers. If he's getting the protection, and he's still throwing into tight windows, it's on the wide receivers to get open. And it's also on the play caller, Jason Garrett, to call plays where they can get open instead of these rinky-dink hitches and curls. And the average yard to sticks for Daniel Jones, -2. So he's often throwing short of the sticks. And again, is that a matter of play calling? Is it a matter of wide receivers not getting open? I think that's the case. So here's what I was mentioning earlier with the defenses that Daniel Jones has faced. I'm not even going to put names attached to this. I'm just going to give you numbers. In terms of scoring defenses, he's faced the number 2 scoring defense, number 4, number 7, and number 8. Of course, we contributed to those numbers because we stink, but at the same time, really tough defenses. We're now through 3 or 4 weeks, so they have played other teams, and those other teams haven't been able to score either. In terms of total yards allowed, we've faced the number 1 defense, the number 3 defense, the number 9 defense, and the 14th defense. In terms of passing yards allowed, the 2nd defense, 3rd ranked defense, 10th and 11th. So I know you want to get on Jones. I know the Washington football team just benched Dwayne Haskins, and Haskins has, I think, better numbers than Daniel Jones. Who has Washington faced? Arizona, Philadelphia, Baltimore. I can't remember the other one. Philadelphia, Baltimore, Arizona, Carolina. I don't know. But defenses that are not as highly regarded as the ones that we've faced. So, and you look at, sometimes you have to go dive deeper into some of these numbers. With Haskins, there's an expected completion percentage. I don't know who comes up with that. And then there's the actual completion percentage, and his was like 2nd worst out of all the quarterbacks that were monitored. Daniel Jones is right there in line with his expected completion percentage. So he's completing the passes he should. Dwayne Haskins isn't. Dwayne Haskins, I think it was like average completion yards per attempt was like 3 or 4 yards. Can't have that. So I think if Jones gets into that territory, then yeah, you have to consider about making a change. But, so far he's all right. He's holding his own against some of the best teams in the league, best defenses in the league. I'm not going to get into the Golden Tate Jalen Ramsey thing. It's like, Jalen Ramsey cheated on his pregnant girlfriend, who was Golden Tate's sister. They met up after the game. Ramsey threw the first punch, apparently. Judge doesn't see a reason to discipline Golden Tate, and I agree. It's like, that's a family matter. He didn't do it during the game. It was after the game, and whatever. It's just like, I'd like to see Tate give a little more fight in the game than after. But it's a rough situation. We're 0-4 now, right? So here are our rankings after 4 games. For the defense, we're 5th in yards. I don't know that you could have imagined that in your wildest expectations. The fact that we were able to do that is above and beyond. It's great to see. And I'm hoping they continue to do that because, okay, maybe the Bears offense isn't so great. And we faced a depleted 49ers offense. So it's like, I don't know, Steelers offense looks like it could be middle of the pack or better. And then the Rams offense, which I consider to be a top 5, top 10 offense. So the fact that they're limiting yards at that kind of level is just phenomenal. And then we're 13th in points. And we'd probably be even better if we didn't just give up in the second half against the 49ers. And if we didn't, in our offense, didn't put the defense in really bad situations. I will die on that hill. And then it's our offense, right? 31st in yards, ranked 31st in yards, ranks 32nd, dead last in points. Got to score. And that's, I guess it's partially on Jason Garrett. It's partially on the talent that we have available, but seems like if you watch the second half of the Rams game, the running game is starting to come along. Then will the play action start to hit that different? And then we'll start to move the ball more. Here's a not so fun fact. From 1973 to 1976, the Giants were 12-43-1, only 14 game seasons then. From 2017 until now, the Giants are 12-39. And we have the worst record in the NFL since 2017. We're 4 games ahead of the next closest team, which is the Jets, of course. So I don't know how much longer you can continue to put this product out in the field. It feels like we figured out the defense. Now you got to figure out the offense. Special teams is there. Defense is there. But as Joe Judge says, got to be complementary football, and the offense has got to start picking up the slack. And that's on Jason Garrett. figure it out, man. You have what you have as what's available to you. If the first 4 games were the preseason, it's week 5. We're now going up against, and we'll get into it, a defense that is not great. So if there's ever a time to break out, this is the week. This is a tweet from Big Blue United. This is kind of unrelated, but I thought I'd throw this in there for all you Gettleman haters, of which there are many. Dave Gettleman, GM, traded JPP for what ended up being BJ Hill. It's another awful trade on his resume. Hill barely sees the field week in and week out, while JPP continues to be a very valuable player for the Bucs. At 31 years of age, JPP has 4 sacks in 5 games this season. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I didn't think that we lost that trade initially. I thought it was a trade that we had to make because we were paying a lot of money to a defensive end who was not performing. Or we thought because of what happened with his hand in the accident that he had lost the ability to grip and to play like he used to. And turns out we were wrong. So yeah, hand up. I'll own that. It would be super nice to have JPP back. But what are you going to do? Through 4 games, James Bradbury ranks 2nd in the NFL at cornerback in overall defense and 3rd in coverage, according to Pro Football Focus. He also leads the league in passes defended with 7. Hell yeah, man. And if you look at, someone else put a tweet out there about Allen Robinson, the second, and said that you take a look at his stats through the first 4 weeks. He, every week was great except the week he went up against the Giants, and that's because James Bradbury was on him. So, yeah, you can't knock what Gettleman did in terms of James Bradbury and Blake Martinez. Just huge signings that have really paid off. Vincent Rapisardi said on Twitter, Will Hernandez is tied for 6th among guards in run block win rate at 75%, which is good to see because I think a lot of people were coming down hard on him, myself included. And we absolutely need him to step up. So maybe this is an indication that we should be running more to the left. Don't know why we haven't been, but seems like Andrew Thomas is also a bit better when it comes to run blocking. So let's start to utilize that side of the field. By the way, Cam Fleming, do I get to this at all? Oh, here's another note. Will Hernandez had his best game run blocking since week 16 of 2018, the 69 run block grade yesterday. Here's what I was going to say. Cam Fleming is the highest graded player on the Giants offense against the Rams. Highest graded offensive lineman for the team through 4 games. This is where Pro Football Focus, I gotta ask, what are you doing? Or what are you looking at? I don't know. Because I think if you were to ask fans, survey, we took a poll of 100 Giants fans, and here are the results that we got. If you asked who's the highest graded offensive lineman, Cam Fleming would be 5 out of 5. I don't think anyone would have him as the top. But the Giants offense managed to keep Aaron Donald's overall grade yesterday under a 70. For context, Donald graded below 70 just once last season. So, and I mean, we lost. A loss is a loss is a loss, but that's got to be, I mean, if we're still counting moral wins, moral victories, then notch another one in the moral victory column. And we talk about play action. So far this season, Jones has only 20 play action pass attempts, despite completing 65% of those attempts for 9.6 yards per attempt and a touchdown. Play action works even when the run game is ineffective. Play action, dude. Just do it. Giants are the 2nd most blitzed team and 11th highest in pressure at 22.4%. Jones has the 12th highest snap to throw rate at 2.79 seconds, which I think I debunked that. But he also has the 4th most tight window throws of players who start 4 games. So, yeah. Play action should help with that. Play action should help with the time to throw. Play action should help open up the deeper parts of the field, throws that are 20 plus yards down the field. So why not do it, Jason? Just succumb. Come to the dark side of play action, Jason Garrett, and let's get this done. God damn. All right, so that's that. Let's talk about the Week 5 game against the Cowboys. A lot of injuries on the Dallas side of things. Chidobe Awuzie, starting corner, is on IR. Anthony Brown, starting corner, is on IR. Starting tackle L. Collins is on IR. Cameron Irving, another tackle, is on IR. Mitch Hyatt, another tackle, is on IR. Tight end Blake Jarwin is on IR. Sean Lee is on IR. And starting linebacker Leighton Vander Esch is on IR. Tyron Smith is questionable. DeMarcus Lawrence is questionable. It's just a lot of big names, a lot of key names. Now, we said the same thing going into the San Francisco game, and we were not up to the task. So I don't know that benefits us. I don't know if we get a big head when we see that. I know I got a big head when I saw the people down for the 49ers going to that game. So I guess don't look too much into that. I don't know if that really does give us an advantage because we've seen how that's played out. But the Cowboys offense is ranked third in terms of points per game, with averaging almost 32 per contest. Their defense, not so much. They've given up almost 37 points per game and are ranked dead last in scoring. They're among the top 5 worst fantasy defense against quarterbacks and wide receivers. So if there was ever a time for Daniel Jones to have a breakout game, and for Darius Slayton and Golden Tate and Evan Engram and Ratley and that whole crew to put up some numbers, this is the game. Honest to God, let's do it, folks. If Jones has less than 300 yards passing, if he has less than 2 passing touchdowns, if we don't see a 100-yard receiver from one of the Giants, then it's like really need to reevaluate Jason Garrett, especially going against his former team, dude. This is the whole reason. This is one of the major reasons we brought him in, is to have some kind of success against the Dallas Cowboys, who we struggled against. Let's go. This is the Jason Garrett game, okay? If Jason Garrett can't figure out his old defense, can't figure out the old personnel, can't figure out how to take them apart, as every other NFL team that's faced them so far has taken them apart and had success, you have to seriously reconsider Jason Garrett as your offensive coordinator. I don't even know what the next step is. And I know that's kind of herky-jerky, emotion-based type rationale and thinking, but I mean, you got to do something. You have to do something. I don't know who takes over play calling if he's fired, or if you take away play calling from him. Maybe it's the quarterback's coach, Skopinski. Maybe it's someone else, but you got to get someone else in there that can give us a better shot. I don't care what the talent is that you're rolling out there. You got to get to know your talent better. And if you don't know by week 5, and if we put up 9 points against the fucking Cowboys defense, heads are got to roll. They just have to. Just from an optics standpoint, you can't keep rolling out the same shtick and hope it'll stick. Giants offense, we're dead last in scoring, less than 12 points per game, and we're pretty much bottom of the barrel in most statistical categories except for passing attempts. I think we're top 5 there. And then there's the defense. We are 12th of 32 in scoring, like I mentioned, giving up around 24 points per game. If you throw out the last quarter and a half of the 49ers game, we're even better, probably top 5. So 7th in first downs allowed, which is important because that means that we're not giving up a ton of first downs. It's just we're giving up crucial first downs. The third down efficiency is where we need to get better. So I think it's pretty obvious what we need to do here. Attack, attack, attack. No more running the ball on first down. No more blah, vanilla pass routes. Let's crisscross applesauce all over the Cowboys secondary. I want Evan Engram running across the field, 5 to 10 yards down the field. I want Darius Slayton pushing vertical. I want Ratley pushing deep digs. I want all of that, every single passing play. And just when they've got you, the umbrella defense you to death and prevent defense you and decide we're going to take away all your deep, mid to deep routes, hit them underneath with Freeman, Lewis, Gallman, and hit him that way. Not having Vander Esch, not having Sean Lee, huge. And our defense, I really think that even though this is a potent offense, Cowboys offense, it scores a lot of points, they're not going to do it against this defense. I've got a tremendous amount of faith in this Giants defense and confidence built after last week. I view the second half of the 49ers game as an anomaly, as an outlier. I think that they're finally coming together. Patrick Graham knows what he has in this team. He has the guys that he wants now after some tinkering. And I know there are some concerns from some Giants beat reporters about shuffling the roster and it's confusing and whatnot. Well, you got to keep moving, and you got to keep tinkering until you figure it out, until you figure out that formula that's going to get you some W's. And I think on the defensive side of the ball, they're very close to getting that. David Mayo has come off IR, is practicing. Jabril Peppers is limited in practice, so we probably won't see them this week. But the fact that they're coming back spells only good things for this defense. Only good things for this defense. We're getting a little more depth back into the rotation. I'd like to see more out of Tate Crowder. And, hopefully Fackrell's okay. But this, in my estimation, this is a winnable game. This is winnable. Our defense can keep the Cowboys offense in check. The Cowboys defense is susceptible to a lot of yards, a lot of points. If our offense can't get in gear against the league's worst scoring defense, I think I don't know what you gotta do, but you gotta do something. You really gotta shake things up on offense. I don't know if that means bringing up some guys from the practice squad, wide receiver wise, Bachman, Victor, Mack, giving them some reps. But you gotta start playing with you make a trade, a wide receiver, give up someone for just a number 2 guy. Right now, Slayton's kind of a number 2. Tate's like a 3. You don't have a 1, but let's get a 1B or a 2A kind of guy in here to at least help us out. And they're starting to utilize Evan Ingram better, but let's stop with these run straight ahead and stop and turn around routes. They're not working. They're just not working at all. So I expect 2-3 sacks, maybe 4 sacks of the Giants defense. I expect we'll hold. It's tough to say you'll hold Prescott to under 300 yards because I feel like we're going to shut down Ezekiel Elliott. They're not going to be able to run the ball. He'll be held to under 100 yards rushing, which means Prescott's probably going to put up a bunch of passing attempts, especially if our offense is able to score. So, will this be a high-scoring affair? We haven't really seen one from the Giants yet, so I would think we'll probably fall in line with that. But we're Cowboys are favored by 8 or 9. I know I keep saying this, and I know I've steered you wrong every single week. I was wrong against the spread against the Niners. I was wrong against the spread against the Rams. I think this is the one that I get. I think we're definitely going to cover 9 or 8 points, and we have a very good opportunity just to steal a win here. And if you do, hey, we're actually not. I tweeted this out last week. I was like, if we just win our division, sweep our division, there's a chance we could go 6-10. All our wins are in the NFC East, and we win the NFC East. And we get the number 4 seed as a 6-10 team. You see what's going on around the NFC East, and it's not pretty. Washington's in a state of flux with Haskins getting benched and Chase Young being hurt. Cowboys have a lot of injuries. They're not great on defense at all. They'll solely depend on their offense to try and carry the team. And the Eagles are inconsistent, is what I can say. I did not think the Eagles were going to beat the Niners. And of course, Nick Mullins decides to make me look bad after I said he's probably should be considered a starter, full-time starter as opposed to a spot starter. Of course, he let me down big time. And CJ Beathard comes in and leads a scoring drive. But, I think the Eagles have the defense. Of all the teams, their offense is just shattered. They've got injuries all over the place on offense. So I don't see them doing much on offense, but they're doing enough, apparently. And that defense is pretty solid. So, I think it's the Cowboys and Eagles that are probably going to battle for first, but I think you give the edge to the Eagles because of their defensive prowess. And the Cowboys are just hanging on for dear life, clinging to that offense. So is there an opportunity for the Giants to sneak in there? Absolutely. Yeah, we're 0-4. The Eagles are in first or 1-2-1. So honestly, I think, we have the defense to carry us. We just need the offense to give us 1 to 2 touchdown scoring drives per game. We can pull it out, as opposed to 3 field goals. If you can get 3 scoring drives, half your drives are scoring drives, that's good. But 21 points looks better than 9. How do we get to 21 as opposed to 9? How do we get to just fucking above 12? It's like defense gave up, I'll say 19 in the first game. I won't say 26 because there was one drive that was just not on them. Next game was 19 points, something like that. Next game was 36. We take away like 1 to 2 of the scoring drives because we put them in a really bad position. And then the last game, 17 points with it's 1 broken coverage play away from being they gave up 10 points. So can we score 2 touchdowns and a field goal? I don't think that's much to ask, especially against this defense. Such a bad defense. With a coach who has been there for so long and knows the personnel that if you're going to win one game, or if your offense is going to have a big day, it's got to be this one. So that's the preview of the Cowboys game. All right, so that's it for this week. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening to my bullshit. We'll see you next week. Until then, adios, muchachos.